first video. The hero of the story, Zuofan, was introduced. He is a typical nobody except for being the son of a hated traitor. It is his life's mission to clear his father's name and save him from unjust punishment. To make this possible, he needs a lot of money, and that means taking up dangerous jobs. On his first rank E mission with a group of strong warriors, he runs into an elaborate conspiracy. Zuofan is stuck with Mu Yinyu, a genius from a rich family, in an underground subway complex. The traitor Mu Hanhu made sure to trap her and add layers of lethal obstacles in her way. She was poisoned, and the poison had the bait for the fish lizards they were fighting. And while Zuofan survived because of his agility and support of the girl, there was something happening that he had not given due attention to yet. The two of them have survived the dangers thrown at them, but now the situation is becoming dire. They are in the caved subway system with little hope of getting out, and Yinyu decides to give Zuofan a chance to survive as she thinks it is her fault that he is trapped. She tells him to escape while she holds the monsters back, but Zuofan is not going to let her die. He frantically searches for a way out by clearing rubble and finally finds an opening. He clears the way out and sets some traps to stop the monsters from pursuing them. He calls out to Yinyu and she hurries towards the exit even as the building is collapsing over her. They finally make it out in one piece. They take some deep breaths to calm themselves down, but the danger is not over yet. Mu Yinyu has a special skill, Sword Sense, that allows her to sense monsters nearby. Her sword tells her that they are surrounded. She would love to fight them and win, but she is not in the condition for anything like that. The poison has spread too deep within her body, and even the antidote Zuofan gave her proved ineffective under the circumstances. She blacks out and falls to the ground. With the last of her consciousness, she tells Zuofan to run away. But that will never be an option for him. He is here to prove the innocence of his father, and he cannot let his own character be tarnished if he has to succeed in that goal. If she dies on him, then he will be blamed for her death. That was how the trap had been set up. It would make no difference to him that he survived if she could not. And it was not like he could outrun these monsters as battered as he was. So, with his back against the wall, Starfall Warrior Reserve Zuofan decides to fight and protect Mu Yinyu. He takes up her sword, which is enhanced with the power of a monster core, and takes a stand against the monsters. He decides that he would properly kill at least one of these monsters. The only two monsters he had defeated were already dead and launching their dying counterattack. A monster attacks him and he slashes its head off. It was mainly the quality of the weapon and not much of his strength. But with its dying counterattack, the monster's tongue pierces his chest and he realizes that this was the end of the road. He regrets that he will not be able to keep the promise he made to his father. But as he is dying, the irregular thing that was happening to him reaches its conclusion. The ringing he had heard twice earlier sounded in his ears again. It declared that the War God system was being activated. The robotic voice says a lot of things that Zuofan does not understand. All he feels is that he is drowning in a bottomless sea. The War God system has detected that its host is dying, so it administers emergency treatment and distributes the acquired skill points among various attributes. All his stats jump up by about 3 times, and even his strength is near 30 before he is up to see it. But he only realizes that something was weird when he finds himself alive. He looks at his chest and finds that he was indeed going to die and his injury was healed. He realizes that he is too fast and strong when he faces the monsters surrounding Yinyu. He easily dodges the attacks of multiple monsters and kills them effortlessly. But the sword had also boosted his strength attribute considerably. It was made from rare minerals and a powerful monster core. No wonder Mu Yinyu was so formidable. When he finishes, he finds that his stats have shot up. Furthermore, he has 21 status points to divide among his attributes. But that will have to wait. He looks at his companion and decides that saving her life was at the top of his priority list right now. He takes her back underground where it is relatively safer for now. But to get her out of the danger, he has to operate on her and get rid of the smell of the lure. He does it by putting a bad-smelling chemical on her body that repelled most monsters. Then Zuofan thinks to himself that due to the Starfall event when a strange meteorite fell on Earth, all types of creatures mutated, and that was what led to the crisis with the monsters. After he finishes patching her up, it is time to get into the depth of his condition. He feels his wound and realizes that the necklace his mother had gifted him was gone. It had a fragment of the Starfall meteorite. Was that what turned into the War God system? The system opens up in front of him when he thinks about it. He had seen it earlier when he looked at the Starfall sword and found out the truth about it, but he was able to see it clearly this time. Things start making sense to him as his mind status is above 40. With the cumulative stat points, he has already become a novice Starfall warrior. He feels that the system was broken. It was almost like cheating. He struggles at first but figures out that all he has to think and he can interact with the system. He distributes his available status points between physique and strength, the two things he was still lagging behind in. He notices the difference in his strength with every adjustment. But he is not satisfied with just seeing his stats on a screen. He wants to try it out in a real battle. He lures a fish lizard and easily kills it. That gives him 3 status points and he is able to turn all his stats over 40. That was the requirement for anyone to be an intermediate Starfall warrior. But there is more excitement for him. He realizes that Mu will be safe because of the bad-smelling chemical and he can go on hunting the monsters. If he could hunt all of them, he would be very close to advance rank. He estimates about a total of 150 status points can be earned. But he made some wrong assumptions, and after increasing his rank, he can only receive fewer points from each monster. But he spends an entire day hunting the E-rank monsters and gathering their fangs and scales to sell later. He finds the exit, but it is guarded by something much more terrible than the fish lizards. It is a two-headed alligator and fish lizard hybrid. It is many times larger than them and is strong enough to kill and eat three of them at once. Zuofan estimates that the threat level could be D rank. He cannot do it alone no matter how much he has grown in the last day. He turns back and returns to Mu, who is still unconscious. But she returns to her senses soon enough, and Zuofan explains everything to her. To hide the truth about the War God system, he has to tell her about his father. That clears her doubt about his strength. And she understands that it is a fair reason that he has to keep his real strength a secret. But she is still a little flustered about him touching her and treating her while she was unconscious. The two of them go to see the two-headed alligator. Mu realizes that Zuofan had made the correct decision to retreat. The monster would be too strong for him to fight. Even she would have to use the full strength of her Starfall equipment to defeat it. But there is a way he can follow to defeat the monster. He will have to learn how to activate and properly wield her sword. She demonstrates to him that by unleashing the power stored in the monster core, a sharp aura covers the blade. With that, it becomes really easy to cut through things as hard as the scales of fish lizards. But using this technique was a last resort, as it would most likely destroy the monster core in the process. Zuofan is amazed by the new technique he saw, and Mu demonstrated it using another Starfall dagger she had kept hidden until now. With the sword, it would not be difficult to cut the hard scales of the mutated monster, but he would be the one to use it and fight the monster. She was injured and could not endure the activated sword's power, and since the power resonated between the sword and the user, she would likely fail to defeat the monster. Zuofan would have to learn the technique and defeat the two-headed monster on his own. She would teach him, but he did not have too long. She had to return home within 3 days to attend the ceremony where she would be crowned the heir to the Mu family. And if she would not return, it could mean disaster. Zuofan would have to constantly fight the monsters and try to form a bond with the sword. Any normal person or even a genius could not do it so quickly. But she believed that a boy who was an intermediate Starfall warrior at his age could do it. He does not make any progress even after facing many monsters, but then the system opens the door for him. It tells him that he needed to be an intermediate Starfall warrior and have 10 available status points to activate the Starfall equipment. And now he had met that condition. He uses the status points and activates the sword. He feels the difference as he can easily slash the monster corpses with the activated skill Sword Light. Mu is highly impressed by his activating the sword in just half a day, a truly godlike achievement. But he does not realize that using the activated sword would tire him needlessly and falls to the ground. But that can be remedied by rest and medicine. But now that he has a chance against the mutated monster, he goes to challenge it. He is quickly shown his place by the formidable monster. He did not expect it to be so agile and had to hide after receiving a beating. But he is determined to fight to the end, as a flashback of the past reminds him what he was fighting for. He comes out to face the monster, who is almost as strong as a D-rank creature. The War God system recognizes that the host wants to fight and risk his life. This activates an innate skill even Zuofan did not know about. It is called perception and grants him the ability to notice every motion in a 10-meter radius. He can see everything happening behind his back and has no blind spot from where the mutated monster can attack. He quickly defeats the two-headed monster and received good news from the system. Not only did he get thrice as many status points, but also found a monster core. He collects some of the scales of the monster that would fetch him a good price and escapes with Mu Yinyu. He is carrying her on his back, and they finally acknowledge each other as friends who have escaped death together. But their happy moment is interrupted by a rain of arrows. The people who betrayed Mu earlier have still not left the area. But this time it is just the bully with a few henchmen. He was following Hanu's orders, who anticipated that she might actually survive. The bully, Muji, is aiming to kill Zuofan and then take his time having fun with Yinyu and then kill her. He sends his men after them, but Zuofan immediately disarms and defeats them. Muji thinks that he could only do that because of the Starfall sword and orders his men to shoot him down. But Zuofan shows them his true speed and kills all of them without wasting a moment. Then Zuofan leaves the restricted area carrying Mu Yinyu, and they are found by the rescue team sent out by her family. Before leaving, she gifts her Starfall sword to him. She also gives him her contact details and gets him to promise to come to see her later. He promises to come soon. The crisis was resolved for the two of them, but Mu Hanhu reaches the site where he was supposed to meet his son, Muji. On seeing his son's dead body, he cannot control his grief and pledges revenge on the two people responsible for this. Zuofan had made tremendous progress in the past 2 days, and he would surely grow even stronger in the future. He rushes to his dad to tell him the good news, but a terrible shock awaits him at the jail. He spots the flying prison, which houses the most terrible and notorious prisoners in China. Seeing it gives him chills, and his intuition tells him that something is very wrong. The chief warden had come to inspect the prison in the city. He is accompanied by a secretary who is beautiful but appears as cold and menacing as him. And the warden had special business with an old acquaintance, Zuo Hui. When he reaches his cell, Zuo Hui immediately recognizes him and is shocked on seeing him here. The man tells him that he is going to take him somewhere for a change of pace. Zuo Fan realizes that it must be his father that the flying prison had come for. He had heard the news that no prisoner ever left the flying prison alive, and he would never meet his father again if he went in. He could not waste any more time and rushed straight to the roof of the jail. The officers on the way are no match for him and he knocks them off. He rushes towards his father but he is stopped by the secretary. She is faster and stronger than him but he can hold his ground only because of his innate skill. The secretary is impressed but so are the others. Zuo Hui finds it hard to understand how his son could have become so strong suddenly. The woman is overpowering Zuo Fan and he decides to use the Starfall sword. Both of them are very close to each other in terms of strength and the fight only stops when the monster core in Zuo Fan's sword breaks. The chief warden is impressed and decides to give him 1 minute to bid goodbye to his father. His father now acknowledges that he is strong enough to learn the truth. He tells him that the proof of his innocence was hidden in the restricted area of the Jining City military base. He tells the password to the safe in which the proof is kept and goes away in the flying prison. Life returns to normal for Zuo Fan after his father leaves the city. He now has a definitive lead and a refreshed approach to life. Now he needs to go to Jining City and find it. He requests Uncle Gao to prepare the paperwork and essentials for him. He gives him his novice Starfall warrior certificate and also tons of advice about how to live in another city. After a hearty goodbye, Zuo Fan leaves him as the old man remembers watching the boy grow into a man. Zuo Fan decides to spend the time before departing getting better and stronger. He had to fix his sword, learn new skills and gather some more information. But he receives a call from a friend who invites him to hang out. Why, his only friend, had been kind to him even after his father got branded a traitor. He had taken good care of him and helped him in every way possible. He would like to thank him properly before leaving the city. But before that, he goes to the exchange center to sell the items he salvaged from the fish lizards and get his sword embedded with the monster core he found. The monster core he found could easily make him a millionaire, but this city was not a major market. He sells the fish lizard scales and receives a pretty sum of 200,000 yuan. But Zuo Fan is disappointed when he finds out that there is no blacksmith in the city that could work with the core of an E-rank monster. He leaves, thinking that he will get it done in Jining. The staff talk behind his back when he leaves that he was definitely an errand boy for some rich man. But he is lucky that an advanced blacksmith had come to the city for some time and was interested in working with him. He finds a young woman named Ju Nayan when he goes to meet the blacksmith. Both of them underestimate each other. She thinks that he is an errand boy, and he thinks that she is an apprentice. But they clear the doubts and get to business. She assessed the quality and value of the monster core he has and is impressed upon seeing it. She starts working on reforging the damaged sword and tells Zuo Fan how the title of a blacksmith is given only to people who can forge Starfall warriors. She tells him that he better not be lying about killing the monster or he would have to face consequences. She explains to him that when the monster core is fused into a weapon, only a powerful Starfall warrior can control the wild energy of the core, and the core from the mutated monster would kill a novice like him immediately. She still doubts his strength and warns him repeatedly, but he assures her that he could handle everything. She initiates the fusion of the core and the energy of the core takes the shape of the two-headed monster Zuo Fan had defeated. He quickly suppresses it with his strong willpower. And she acknowledges that he was indeed the one who defeated the warrior. She apologizes for being so rude to him earlier and the business is smoothly conducted. Zuo Fan realizes that the sword feels lighter and more compatible with him than it was before. It must be because he had killed the monster and fused the core. He checks it out using the system's appraisal and finds that reforging gave him some new bonuses. The sword increases the user's strength and agility by 40 points and also had sharp, sword light and E-rank piercing skills. He is amazed that the sword has gotten stronger and gained 2 new skills at the same time. The advanced swordsmith is not done with him. She realizes that she had just met with a prodigy and that maintaining a good relationship with him could benefit both of them. She asks him to call her big sister and he agrees because of the perks that relationship would give him. She promises to give him a good discount every time he deals with her. And as a parting gift, she also gives him a black VIP pass. Something that could give him the best deals and special treatment at all exchange centers in the country. He decides to put the pass to use immediately. He needs to try out his sword and find how good it is now. And he can do that in the weapon testing area. With his VIP pass, he could skip the queue and get straight to the business. He is excited and will not have to wait to find out. But we will have to wait for the next video to find out how much better is the new sword.